Good morning from a very warm and early campsite in Alentejo in Portugal, just near the border between Portugal and Spain, south of Evora. It is one of our favorite places to visit in our campervan. Always find it so peaceful and tranquil, and a real place to rest and recover.
The morning routine, making coffee, dancing, and peeling fruit.
Feeding the dog.
And feeding the dog. This is a South African delicacy called a rusk. It's like a biscuit. You dip it in your morning coffee. Give it a good old dunk.
In this video, I'm going to be sharing how we cope with camping in the height of summer, especially in a heat wave, not just in the UK, but down in Portugal and Spain and southern France, where we love to go on our summer road trips. Camping in extreme heat can be very uncomfortable. Not only that, but it can be dangerous too. So you need to take some precautions. So I'm going to share how we go about camping in the peak of summer, particularly when it's really hot. When camping in warmer weather, we always try to position our campervan as near as or underneath a tree as much as possible to take advantage of the shade that trees obviously create. Trees seem to have this way of creating shade that is much denser and cooler than the shade created by a sun canopy or an awning. It's certainly something that I've noticed sitting under a tree. I don't feel like I'm slowly baking to death, but if I am sitting below a sun canopy, I feel the heat much more. So we try to park our van under what limited shade is available. The next most important thing is using thermal window blinds on all of your van windows. So in our van, we have 3 windows down either side. We of course have the 2 large glass barn door windows at the back, and we have the windscreen on the front, which is massive. The windows are also tinted with limo tint, just to keep the van as cool as possible. Of course, the roof and the sides of the van have all been insulated as well, and the insulation helps not only keep it warm in cooler climates, but of course it helps keep it cooler in hotter climates. You want to create as much coolness as you can when camping in hotter climates. So we have our barn doors open at the back to create a cross breeze through the van and out the sliding door. The air from out there is pretty warm, so we have the van parked as close as we can to this little tree over here to give it some shade in the morning. The sun has risen over on that side over there, and it's going to set on that side. We have a custom awning on the back of the van across our barn doors so that the sun can't shine directly into the van from the back. Preventing the sun shining directly into your campervan is really important. We found that on the side facing the sun, we keep the thermal blinds up and all the curtains closed, particularly when you're in direct sunlight. Then we have the shade that's created by the barn door awning, and then we have our sun canopies out at the front. You might be using just a single awning that comes out the side of your van, but you can see here that we are using 2 awnings. Effectively, one that's attached to the van, and then another placed over the top, which is creating a thermal barrier between the 2. So we're using 2 awnings, or 2 tarps, just to create a much denser form of shade. It's ultra important when it gets hot like this. Currently we've got about 38 degrees today, so we want to make 100% certain that we have a good cross breeze through the van and also good shade outside of it. And of course, you need somewhere to swim. On this particular campsite in Alentejo, there is a lake nearby and there is also a pool on site, which is excellent. So you want to keep your van nice and cool. You don't want to come back and sit in an oven and slowly bake to death underneath your awning, right? This is a good view of the insulating layer that we've created between the top and the bottom awning. We have a Remo Mauritius awning that attaches to the side of the van on a C-rail, and then we have this tarp, which is just a normal 4x5 meter tarp, which we have fitted over the top. It's made from the same kind of nylon fabric. It's waterproof. So we have the top awning and a bottom awning and the thermal barrier between the two. You can see on the top awning, it's still quite bright because that's the one that's taking the direct sunlight. There is still a lot of transfer of light and therefore heat into the space below a single covering. There's a big difference between the top sun canopy, the tarp, and underneath the awning. This is going to be warm between the two. Then you've got the shade created by the awning, and this is much cooler down here. You can always tell where the coolest part of your camp is, because it's where the gals are playing Sudoku and where the dog is lying. That is always a good hint where the coolest part of a campsite is. Your pets will show you. They're kind of wired to find the coolest spot. Brody is lying there on the bed quite happily. Obviously, we are very concerned not only about managing our own heat, but making sure that he stays cool as well. So underneath the sun canopies, we have created some shade for a pop-up tent, and that's where my daughter and the dog sleep at night. It's important to give the pop-up tent as much shade as possible as well, because it can be pretty uncomfortable sleeping in a tent that has been in direct sunlight all day. So we've got a little bit of direct sunlight in the morning, but by midday in the afternoon and towards sunset, this pop tent will be mostly in the shade and reasonably cool. Certainly cool enough to sleep in by the time night comes. So that is our hot weather camping setup, where we create as much shade as possible so that we can stay comfortable and cool. There really is no reason why you can't go camping in your van when it's hot. You just need to be prepared. Not only is it important to keep ourselves and our pets cool when we're camping in warmer weather, but you've heard it a million times before. You need to hydrate. And of course, that doesn't just mean drink a lot of water, does it? It means you can also drink some nice cold beers or cold G&T. So we like to keep our drinks and food cool. We have a Dometic 3-way fridge. It's not the compressor type, this is an absorption type. It runs on 12 volts, but it'll cool your contents down to about 20 degrees below ambient. So if it's 40 degrees out there in the sunshine and you put your cooler out there in the sun, theoretically the contents are going to be 20 degrees cooler, which really is like drinking lukewarm tea. So you want to keep your fridge in your van where it's nice and cool, so you can have some ice cold drinks, some fresh salad, and keep your chicken and meat fresh before it goes on the barbie. Obviously the temperature inside the van, by keeping it cool, keeps the ambient temperature down, which means that the contents of your fridge are going to be even cooler. So this is set to its max in this kind of temps, and it keeps our drinks nice and chilled. They're not cold like they've been in the freezer, but they are certainly cool enough to drink and enjoy. We keep all of our fresh food and some of our drinks in the fridge. This is a chest type fridge, which is great because when you open the door, all of the cold air doesn't escape like a normal fridge that swings open and closed. The chest freezer type keeps all of the cool in there much more efficiently than an open door fridge style like you have at home. And then we use a little ice box, which is not cooled at all. It relies completely on ice to keep the contents chilled. So we buy ice once a day if possible, wherever we can. From a Mercado, a supermercado, a Leclerc, Intermarché, a Lidl, whoever has got ice. Lots of the little roadside garages in Portugal have ice boxes, and so that's a great way of picking up ice to fill up this little ice chest. To let the cold air stay in there as much as possible, don't open your chest cooler or your chest fridge up too much. The secrets of keeping these things nice and cold is not to open them too often. Just go in there when you need to, and it'll keep your food and drinks nice and cold. Keep your fridge and your ice chest inside your van if you can. And what you've probably noticed is there's not much ice left in this ice chest, but that's okay. It's melted, but the water that's left behind is still cool enough and cold enough to keep the drinks cold, and that's the important thing. Now, many campsites we have found in Europe and some in the UK will actually have a fridge or a freezer available to the guests. Now, sometimes you can rent the whole fridge. Other times they make a fridge like this available for the guests to use. You just need to label your food, label your drinks, pop them in there, keep them nice and cold. This particular one is a proper fridge. It does a great job of cooling our drinks, our drinking water and our beers and ladies' drinks really, really nice and cold, which is really important in these kinds of temperatures.
So important to have cold water and cold beers. And of course, one of the best ways of keeping cool If you found this video useful and encouraging to you to get out there with your camper van and go to warmer places and camp, then give it a thumbs up. And if you have some tips that you'd like to share about camping in warmer climates, then please leave them in the comments below. If you want to see any more of these videos, then please subscribe.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.